In tonight's Imperial Business Insights lecture, we welcome Paul Maher from Siemens Infrastructure and Cities Smart Grids Division to discuss building Britain's sustainable energy future. It's great to have you here, Paul.
Thank you, Richard.
In the last energy lecture in this series, we had James Smith from the Carbon Trust talking about the need to decarbonise Britain by a factor of 10 by 2050. How are companies like Siemens working to make that possible?
Well, firstly, the 2050 target is really ambitious. I think we all recognise that. If you look at our existing installed base, from gas turbines to how we get the generated power down the lines, let's go back to the generation side. So our gas turbines are amongst the most efficient in the world, with output efficiencies of over 62%. This is a world leader. So if you look at the installed state today, it's actually squeezing more power, more energy out of that system, so getting more efficiencies. Some of our cable technologies and the voltages we're now distributing energy at are amongst the highest in the world. So we're setting the standards on high voltage distribution transmission. So that's today's infrastructure. When you look forward, our investment into advanced research into wind, tidal, current, solar, is where we're trying to change the mix and the availability, affordability of different energy sources. So a very broad spectrum of investment from Siemens and focus.
Right, thank you. And do you think the government's policies are doing enough to bring on low carbon technology?
This is a really difficult challenge, and I empathise with the complexity of what they're having to cope with here. When you look at it's about the energy trilemma, so it's about security of supply, it's about decarbonisation of our electrical infrastructure, but it's also about cost. We have to keep a real emphasis on cost. And I think the document actually tries to keep that balance and that equilibrium across those three real drivers, because we have to maintain, UK PLC's competitiveness in the global market.
Right, good. We're also joined by Professor Richard Templer, who's one of the leaders of Climate-KIC, another organisation helping to deliver a lower carbon future. And I know that one of your projects is tackling the inaccuracy of current data on greenhouse gas emissions. How is the fact that the data isn't good enough at the moment, how does that affect efforts to tackle green carbon emissions?
It's a kind of very simple message, I guess. If you can't measure it, you can't control it. In fact, if you can't measure it, you probably don't even know about it. And there are some interesting ones actually. I think I'll just mention one of them because it relates to gas and fracking, in fact. So it's quite current, which is nobody really knows how much methane is leaking out of pipework at the moment. Nobody knows how much methane leaks out of the holes you drill in the ground when you do fracking. And methane is an incredibly potent greenhouse gas, much more potent than CO2, so it doesn't require very much to have a big impact. And we've sponsored and funded a piece of work that our colleagues at the National Physical Laboratory are doing in collaboration with National Grid and Veolia. Veolia are interested in the methane emissions from other places. I won't even mention this, unmentionable at this time of the day, what sort of emissions we're talking about. But anyway, both of those companies are incredibly interested in understanding what the numbers are so that they can control it.
Right. And could you give me sort of examples of how the Climate-KIC works with its partners such as Imperial College, to deliver climate-friendly innovations to the market?
Yeah, so I could wax lyrical or non-lyrically on this for too long. So I think that the thing that we do that's special is we've got about 220 partners across Europe, and they come from 4 areas, from research, education, government and business. In fact, the largest sector is business. The most important thing is that those 4 different types of partner lend support to everything that we're doing in the pipeline, and that means we've got an incredibly efficient pipeline, because if you've got let's say you were doing some innovation and you've got you want to verify that your technology is the best in the world, that can be very difficult for actually any organisation, but especially for inventive technological organisations. Well, we've got all these partners with expertise, technical, business, like you, and facilities with which we can help them. And so all of that is brought to bear on these innovations that we do fund, but it's actually not the funding that really makes the difference. It's the kind of support that we can give to everybody.
Right.
So I'm now meant to ask you some questions.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, folks, this has all been set up. So actually, let me ask you about the business school, and just to explain what it is that you guys are doing in the business school that helps people like Siemens and my organisation, of which you are a part, to do our jobs.
Well, part of it is just training. So the Climate-KIC has a summer school for would-be entrepreneurs, and we deliver information to those students to help put their efforts in context.
And you do a wonderful job.
Thank you. But we also, at the research front, I've got colleagues who look at how do consumers take up low-carbon innovations, what needs to happen to make sure that the consumers will take them up, and how long does it take before something is really penetrating the market in a big way. I work on the future shape of the electricity system. What role is there for the more efficient gas turbines? And there will be a big role for them, even if we have many other types of renewable or nuclear plant on the system, we will still need the flexible plant in the middle. So that's the sort of thing that we work on.
Okay, so this is my. I'm going to actually change the question slightly. So there's no point in looking at it now. How many of the students do you think are actually that you've got in the business school, and are thinking about doing their MBAs or whatever, and are thinking about getting involved with organisations like Siemens or like mine, wanting to become entrepreneurs? Yes. How many of them do you think are actually interested in doing stuff to create a new type of society, a sustainable society? And what do you think you can do for those who feel that way about their MBAs? What can you do to help them? What is it that you're doing to make them help them to realise these dreams?
Well, one of the most distinctive features of our MBA programme is what we call the Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Design project. When working in teams, they have to develop a business plan for something innovative, and that gives them the opportunity to choose a project within this space. Other students do consulting projects where they work with a company. So, for example, we had 2 teams working with a company that owns a lot of commercial property, advising that company what it could do to reduce the emissions from its buildings. I didn't get to see the reports, but I very much hope that they were recommending some suitable Siemens products.